So this is a really exciting archaeological excavation. It's in advance of building the Faith Museum, so we're building an extension to the back of the castle to house over 10 galleries of a large space, and as part of that we've had to undertake a large archaeological excavation to understand more about the history of the site, to try and prove some of the questions that we had, and to see what we were dealing with before we started construction. We're working with Durham University Archaeological Services there, and we have a large force of volunteers who worked with them both at the excavations at Binchester, on the walled garden, and now here. So we're looking for the historic palace, the medieval palace, the Tudor palace. We found a lot of things we weren't expecting, and it's proven a lot of the things that we thought we might find out. So it's been a great sort of part commercial dig because of the new building we're building, but part big research and community focused excavation. We have references that the site was occupied over 1,000 years ago, and has been in the ownership of the Bishop of Durham for the majority of that time. The bishops were prince bishops, so they were extraordinarily wealthy, and what we've discovered now is that the medieval castle, the medieval palace, was a much larger site than we thought it was. Before we started doing research into the site in 2013, this was a relatively unknown, understudied place. It was a private home. Nobody had really looked at very much here, archaeologically or historically. Now, what the assumption was then was that this was a manor house, so a hunting lodge really for the bishop to ride out. We now know that Bishop Beck, who was really working here in the 12th and 13th centuries, radically encastellated the site. So it's a big castle, castle complex. What we found are the curtain walls, which survive in the Scotland wing behind me to my left, and also run under the site to the right at right angles. Very large gatehouse complex. We've got a round tower of the medieval castle on the corner, and then we've got what's probably a Tudor through to 17th century range that ran parallel to the Scotland wing on this side, on the south side. So this was more of a castle forecourt and was possibly the main entrance to the medieval and Tudor castle. The important thing actually is about the scale of the site. So as you can see over there, there's all of these large chunks of masonry, large bits of architectural fragments, so bits of window tracery, what held the glass in, column shafts, pilaster bases to hold the columns up. We're finding the building, and what we're finding is that medieval, that Tudor castle that I talked about, was demolished in the English Civil War. Or the south front, really the whole south facade. So what you see now as Auckland is what survived and was reworked again and again in the 17th and 18th centuries. And what we're finding underneath the ground here, and what's probably under the front lawns, is all of that medieval curtain wall, possibly the medieval two-storey chapel, the gatehouse, the bedroom blocks. All of that was demolished and flattened. So all of this ground level you see from all of the rubble behind me is the medieval palace. So what we're finding is the building itself in bits, and it hasn't been taken away. Behind us to the left is the Scotland wing. It's a 17th century wing. On the other side of it is the medieval curtain wall. So that's up to about 3 meters high, about the height of where the windows are, or the top layer of windows are. The wall came to the end of the Scotland wing there, and then it ran off at a right angle, down here behind, and over that way. On this side, you can see where the wall was. It's been robbed out, all the stone's gone, it's the soil behind. And then this bit of wall here, with a really fine facing on the front, is the staircase that would have taken you up onto the wall walk on the top of the medieval walls. Really expensively built, really finely faced. We're stood in the middle of the medieval gatehouse, which faces out onto the formal entrance into the castle. In the middle here is the cut through of the wall, so we're looking at the floor surface of the passage through, which then opened out to the full width of the entire gatehouse, which had a elaborately carved and vaulted roof, supported on a number of columns. So there's 2 surviving pilaster bases here, which would have supported the column shaft, which would then supported the vaulted ceiling above. There was another one that's missing beyond there. And then the whole thing opened out into an elaborate courtyard, possibly with the medieval two-storey chapel beyond, and the bishop's bedroom block and solar over there. And then on the corner over here, the wall returned again at right angles, and there was a round tower, forming the probable, at least the inner bailey, if not the entire defensive circuit of the castle. The archaeology will be recorded, removed, and we'll start hopefully building the extension. Over the next few years, we hope to move into a research archaeological mode, working with our community volunteers to learn more about the archaeology and history of the palace complex by looking at the front lawns. So there'll be a research focus that we'll move on to answer some of the questions like, where was the medieval chapel that's been lost? Can we find it still? Where was the 17th century manor house that was built? Where did the curtain walls go to? Were there more round towers? How big a castle was this? How important was it? But what we're finding is that the site itself is a major palace and medieval castle of medieval England and has a role on the national stage.